Morning everyone, Bats 99 Ultralight and Quadcopter channel here. It pains me to make this video, but what needs to be said has to be said. I've had my Fimi X8 SE 2020 for a few weeks now and I love it. I've been getting amazing videos out of it and it's met my expectations in full. I've had no problems. However, the Fimi, like all the other drones, has some special flight modes, and I've been looking at these in the last few days and something has happened which has set the alarm bells ringing. Now, if we go into the special flight modes, you get those by hitting the funny little asteroid looking object down in the bottom right hand corner. Let's go into that, and you see that in intelligent flight you've got smart track and it says beta. Let's go into smart track, and you've then got three choices. You've got trace, profile and lock, and all of these you enter, press on them, okay, and you start up by drawing a square around the target. This is quite normal, a lot of drones have this, so we've done that. Once you've done that, okay, you then hit the go button and away things go. Now I'm going to come out of this, okay, and I'm then going to show you something that happened to me yesterday, which I think people need to be aware of. This clip I think was shot in the profile mode. I'd previously tried the lock mode, but that didn't lock, and I just kept walking out of the rectangle, so I'd abandoned that and tried profile, and even this was very slow to start and I had to walk very slowly for it to be able to keep up. So I eventually abandoned that as well and decided to have a go in the trace mode. And this is what happened. Firstly, here I am setting the trace mode up and then beginning to walk towards the drone. Well, once again, the drone was very slow to begin moving, but when it did, you can see that it actually shot away from me much further than I had walked, and then it seemed to realise and began to come back to me very quickly before I managed to stop it. Let's have another look. Here we are. I move towards the drone shoots backwards much more quickly than I've been walking, and then begins to correct itself and come hurtling forwards. Okay, now that I've shown you that, now let's look at what happened the day before. Here I am in trace mode, setting the trace mode up and activating it. You'll see that the gimbal has moved as it's actually grabbed me, and then I'm moving backwards. The drone is incredibly slow starting, but when it does, it begins to move like the clappers, then stops when I've stopped and shoots backwards. But then it seems to become incredibly unstable, and before I can do anything, I've lost control, and it goes hurtling forwards and smashes straight into a tree in my garden. Okay, so let's see what we can make of this, and bearing in mind that these are my own opinions. Firstly, I'd like to say that I'm a big fan of the Fimi. I think that the Fimi X8 SE 2020 is excellent for video. The results I'm getting are superb and exceed the expectations that I had when I ordered the drone right back in April 2020. However, I don't think the same can be said of the special flight modes, which I think generally are very poor. Orbits work okay, but it would be nice if they could be set up from a distance without having to fly overhead and go through the procedure of creating a radius, etc. because the sort of things that I want to orbit generally are firstly very large and are usually at some distance away from my own position. I personally don't have a need for things like drones and rockets and spirals, which I regard as just as gimmicks, but I understand that some people will want to use, but they're not for me. But one of the flight modes that I would possibly have a use for would be the tracking. Okay, and these I have found don't work, are certainly not reliable, and in the case in one case, which is what this video is about, actually turned out to be dangerous. I don't think it's good enough for Fimi just to have a problem with a flight mode and then just whack a banner on it saying beta and then wash their hands of the problem. Especially if the problem, as I've shown in this video, can be dangerous to people in the vicinity and to the drone itself. I have shown the Fimi crashing into a tree. Luckily, I was lucky for the drone not to be badly damaged. But it happened twice before in the days prior to this event, which unfortunately I threw the videos away. I didn't keep them. On those two occasions, it did the same as it did this time, except instead of flying uncontrollably forward, it flew backwards. It flew backwards at very high speed, and while it was doing it, it lowered the gimbal to face the ground. And when I eventually managed to get it back under control, it was something like 100 meters away from where it had started, with the gimbal turning, facing totally downwards towards the ground. So there's something very wrong here. I was lucky. I expected when my Fimi fell out of the tree to find it was going to be badly damaged, with possibly one of the arms broken, with the camera damaged, the gimbal hanging off. I didn't find that, fortunately. I got away with just a few light abrasions on one of the front arms. Other people may not be so lucky. So again, this is my own opinion. I think that Fimi needs to do something about this. If the tracking modes don't work, they should be withdrawn. Fimi should issue new firmware where the modes are either removed or they are made inaccessible until such time as they can be made to work and made to work safely. Other manufacturers have done it. They don't seem to have a problem. Fimi, I think, have got to address this problem. Anyway, that's all for me now. This is Roger from the BATS99 ultralight and quadcopter channel. I'm sorry this should be something of a negative video, and I hope that when I come back next time, it'll be with in a bit of a lighter note.